What's up, YouTube? This is your friendly neighborhood movie nerd, back to give you guys everything that is going on in the world of movies and TV and people. Oh my freaking god. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is 10 years old. I don't know how that happened, but somehow the Marvel has been making movies long enough that they have now reached their 10th friggin' year. And I am also happy to report that after the many missteps that they've had in the past, we finally have not just, I would say, a good movie, but a great Marvel movie. And that is something that I feel that we have not gotten as viewing audiences in a very long time. So without further ado, here is the long-awaited review for the 18th, though Ragnarok was 17th, 18th installment in this monstrosity that has dominated the pop culture force over the last 10 years now. So this is my review for Black Panther.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out.
Wakanda forever!
The revolution will not be televised.
Let's have some fun.
The revolution will be live.
This movie was friggin' spectacular. Not only was it a well-made movie, not only was it a continued demonstration that Ryan Coogler is one of the best directors to ever happen in the world of film, but it was the fact of this movie just what did not feel like a typical Marvel movie at all. Over the last couple of years, Marvel has really developed this stigma of, yeah, we don't care. We're just gonna own up to the fact that we are gonna be comprised of giant joke machines and that our movies have absolutely zero stakes, which really killed off any sort of enjoyment that I could have gotten out of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, and Spider-Man, movies that I had very high expectations for. With this movie, however, not only did I feel like it had this real sense of urgency that made it not feel like a giant joke machine, but it was the fact of this movie really managed to take itself seriously and have this incredible identity of its own. And I'm pretty sure I really have to give Ryan Coogler so much credit for that. This is probably some of the best world building that I've seen in a Marvel movie since Guardians of the Galaxy, because he managed to craft Wakanda in such a way that has this insane visual flair. And even though the visual effects in this movie aren't always on point, there is never once a point where I am distracted or taken out of it, and he manages to make Wakanda he manages to really turn it into the setting, into a character of its own, and I love that. The little attentions to detail that he crafts when he does those little shots of just everybody going through their daily lives, you know, the border tribesmen taking care of the rhinos, you know, the little, just the regular people taking care of their shops and stands. It really helps to establish the identity of Wakanda in such a way that I haven't seen in a Marvel movie since, like I said, since Guardians of the Galaxy. The crafting of the Wakandan culture was also off the charts good, too, because I love how Coogler manages to pull from different elements of different African cultures and really puts them together in order to craft this mixed identity that manages to encompass all of just the amazing colors, craftsmanship, different oriental designs, the clothing designs. It really is something special to watch. One thing that did have me worried going into this movie is, okay, this is Marvel and Disney handling not only the first live-action superhero movie to take place in Africa and have a primarily black cast, but also, are they going to bungle the underlying socio-cultural message that the movie was going to go for? Well, as it turns out, not only did they do that brilliantly, but they managed to do it in such a way that actually makes it so relevant towards today's world, and a lot of that is really expressed in the villain. One of the few good things that has come out of Marvel Phase 3 is they finally seem to be working towards fixing their villain problems, and my god, is this villain freaking amazing. Michael B. Jordan, I've always loved him as an actor, but as we all know, Marvel has had this hilarious, it's almost gotten to the point of hilarity where they get all these amazing actors for all of these villain roles, and they're almost all completely wasted because the villains end up being these generic one-off villains that are just all evil and all want to take over the world, with the exception of 3. And I'm happy to say now that Michael B. Jordan can be added to that list of great, amazing villains, because his portrayal of Killmonger is so good and so layered, not just because he is an amazing villain and an amazing foil to T'Challa, but honestly because you honestly understand, once you find out who this guy is, because there's a certain point in the movie where you don't know who he is, but once you find out who he is and you understand why he wants what he wants and why he's going for what he's going for, not only does he make sense, and not only do you understand what he's coming from, but you almost kind of start to sympathize with him. Because not only is he making a ton of points that make a lot of sense towards Wakanda's involvement in the outside world, but his backstory going into just his his hatred of the throne of Wakanda, once you find out the insults that were done to his family, honestly, I kind of end up rooting more so for him than any of the other characters in this movie. The cast they have. First of all, Chadwick, once again, continuing off of Civil War, kills it. Once again, just seeing him have to learn who the type of person that his father was, because it turns out there's a twist in the movie concerning both the villain and his dad that shows that his dad is not the person that he thought he was at all. It really makes him reevaluate who his dad was, it makes him question his own identity, which is an amazing catharsis and an amazing character moment that, again, I wasn't expecting from a Marvel superhero movie. Besides T'Challa, the rest of the cast they have is great, particularly the females, because all four of the main female supports, which are Lupita Nyong'o as his lover and former lover, Nakia, Denai Guerrero as the leader of his female bodyguards, Adore Milaje, her name is Okoye, Letitia Wright as his sister Shuri, and Angela Bassett as his mother are all friggin' spectacular. I particularly love his relationship with both Lupita Nyong'o and Letitia Wright, because with Lupita Nyong'o, it's the first romantic back and forth in a Marvel movie that not only does not feel wasted, but also feel like they have legitimate chemistry, and you also can see the reasons for why he is so into her and why she is so willing to at first reject him, and so seeing them come together is really great. And then his relationship with his back and forth with Shuri and just her personality was so amazingly good, not to mention the fact that her being the cue to essentially his James Bond was an amazing back and forth. I love when she was showing him all the tech and that she was kind of just fooling around and messing around with him. It's like little character moments. And of course I'd be doing a disservice to the rest of the cast if I didn't talk about each and every single one of the other ones. Daniel Kaluuya, although he wasn't used in this movie nearly as much as you would think, he was still very poignantly used, and he had his part, you still understood where he was coming from. Forrest Whitaker, Winston Duke as M'Baku, the man Abe, that was his part inclusion in the movie, ended up being so much more than I thought it would, and that ended up being great. I already said Forrest Whitaker. Sterling K. Brown has a tiny part in the beginning, a tiny part, but very, very poignant. But of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about, the two white guys in this movie. But of course, that's how good this movie is. This movie is so good that the only two white primary members of its cast, that being Martin Freeman as Everett K. Ross and Andy Serkis as Ulysses Claw, are so perfectly used. First off, Andy Serkis is just having an absolute blast with this movie, and you can tell at the minute that he comes in, so much better used, so much more well used in this movie than he was in friggin' Star Wars. And they do kind of pull a bait and switch with his character, but for the limited time that he does have on screen, him as Claw is just so refreshing and so amazing, managing to build up on a lot of the promise and potential that was set up in Age of Ultron. Martin Freeman, not only was he in the movie a lot more than I thought he would be, but they ended up using him really, really well, and he actually manages to end up participating in the final battle, not in a way that kind of distracts you, but it's still, they managed to include him just perfectly enough. But of course, don't let me talking about the character moments take away from the action of this movie, because this action is pretty friggin' dope. Probably some of the best, well-choreographed, well-lit, colorful, intriguing action sequences that I've ever seen. For a movie that I was expecting to be nothing more than another piece of holdover, at least until Infinity War, this movie managed to craft such a strong and incredible identity of its own. Ryan Coogler manages to build this entire world within this already constructed world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we already knew about. Amazing cast, amazing action, incredible character piece, incredible special effects, and it's the fact of not only does this movie not once reference the outside Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it also doesn't need to at all, and it truly makes this one of the most special experiences that I've had with a superhero movie and with a Marvel movie in a very long time. I am giving this movie 9 out of 10 stars. So that is it. That is my review for Black Panther. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Also be sure to click the like button and the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at MovieNerdReview. Also head on over to my website, MovieNerdReviews.com. That is it. I will see you guys next time. Go!